also you probably want to try to
less of the I graduated in, more.
No, you want to keep that
okay.
in the answer so that it can be taken and used as a bite,
right,
and floated around. And you also want to try to avoid using like pronouns like he, it, they,
okay,
and use like a name.
okay.
So,
Hello. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Sean? Cool. Hey, I'm in the middle of an interview. Can I get you to call back in like half hour or something? That's cool. Right on. All right. Bye.
Give me some levels. Just say, hi, my name is Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike Dees, aka Mike Nelson. I live in my home.
wait, one's not, channel 2's not coming through?
Yeah, it is.
Is it? You getting both of them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you are.
Check.
I only get channel 1 when he talks.
Hello.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. So I guess let's just begin at the beginning. Like where you met them as individuals or as a band.
Well, I guess as individuals, the Carp guys were around, hanging around the scene a lot before they'd really started a band. The band that I was in Fits of Depression was playing a lot, and there was this kind of group of kids from Tumwater, the Unwound guys. They were in a band called Giant Henry at the time, and I think they were also called Uncle Abner.
Wait, I'm
like that.
sorry. Channel 2 is not coming through now. I think it's a bad connection. Alright, now it is. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
No audio, no show. So
Right on.
you have to start over. Actually, give an introduction first, right?
Yeah, sure.
Name.
Say your name.
I'm Mike, playing the band Fits of Depression. Local Olympia punk rocker. Yeah, I guess with the Carp guys, I knew them through just them hanging around town, coming to the shows, coming to the parties. They were friends of friends. When they started playing, the scene was pretty small and tight knit around here. Nobody was really hoping to achieve anything. People were just playing because they were bored and there was nothing better to do. And, rock just sort of came out of all of it. When Carp first started out, they got on the label K pretty quickly after we had put out our record. Their first record came out, and we both went out on tour together and did like a big like 3-month tour, backed by K. And I'd kind of known those guys, I guess, a year or two prior to that, so it was pretty easy rolling with them. They opened for us for like 2 months in a row. We shared a lot of hotel room floors and vans, and even at one point we had broken down and loaded everything into their van, and both bands were in the same van for a portion of the tour. It was a tight running bit for a while there.
So what were your first impressions of the band? Like the first time you saw them, and kind of just the initial response of what is this thing?
Of Carp?
Yeah.
They were.
We want to start out with Carp.
Carp was pretty heavy compared to a lot of the stuff that was coming out at the moment. K and Kill Rock Stars were having a lot of nicey nice bands, and I think us and Carp, Fits of Depression and Carp, were the only two hardcore bands that were really coming out at the time. Certainly the only things that K was putting out, and so they lumped us together, obviously, because we were the only two that matched each other. They were certainly influenced by the Melvins, playing loud and heavy. Scott was a Kidder. The band he was in prior to that, I think they were called Eye on the Sky, I think, something like that. It was, I don't know how to say, I guess, I don't know, Smith sort of sound, kind of thing. And he was, like a school drummer, and then I didn't see him for a long time, and then he was in this band all of a sudden, and they were way different, way different. And, I don't know, I guess when Carp first came out, it was nice to have, a like-minded band to play with that was, playing heavy and hard, and next week we kept getting shows with, the other K bands and stuff that were, certainly not of the same. We actually toured for a long time with Kicking Giant, which is miles apart from what we were doing at the time, but we do these big U.S. tours with them and stuff, and the crowds didn't mesh at all. It was nice. I like the band. I like the people. They're great, but putting the two bands together certainly wasn't that great. So when Carp came around, it was cool to have them rocking hard.
And what was your impression of their relationship with each other?
When I guess when they were younger, they were still, in high school or fresh out of high school. So you could tell they were still, really, just buddies. They were hanging with each other because they'd grown up together, and were still growing up, at that point. They were pretty young, and you could tell that they were all best friends, so to speak. You could see that, you could feel that, and it definitely came in their music too. Like in Olympia, we had so much time on our hands here, just nothing better to do with all the rain months that you just spend all your time in the practice room, just fucking around and doing your rock thing. And it showed with them. They obviously spent a lot of time together playing, developing songs, developing the way that they all mesh together in the music. For sure.
What do you think about, as you were saying, there's so much of what was going on in the town was so different, than what you guys were doing and what they were doing. What if any, what do you think were the reasons that kind of spawned why they were in the band like they were in, rather than being in the band that a lot of people were in at the time?
Well, I think there were, there was us and the Melvins and a few other, back then the Melvins were still sort of considered local. They had just moved away a few years prior, before Carp had started. And so, I don't know, I think they liked that heavy, aggressive, sounds and tones that came out of those bands, those sort of bands, and they ran with that. They grabbed onto that sort of feel, and then it just, I think, especially them coming out of high school and all that, they were still full of angst from their, the bullies in school, and the initial Carp, was kill all redneck pricks, and it's just from Tumwater High School where they went to school. I did a year there, so I know what they're talking about. It's a rough place. All of Olympia, was rough in the 80s and 90s to go to school and try to be punk rock. You had to take daily beatings, and I think it showed in their music for sure. It was all just kind of part of that, where they grew up and where they, the people that they had to deal with, in school, and at the time they were still, like I said, they were still in school and still having to deal with that, and so it came out in their songs.
Yeah, well, yeah, that totally. I mean, what was that like? Who are the redneck pricks?
The Tumwater Jocks.
You should call it, the redneck pricks. Like they're referring. You should put it in your statement. Like the redneck pricks they're talking to are.
The redneck pricks that Carp is talking about are definitely the Tumwater jocks and the rednecks that they had to go to school with and take shit from every day.
How do you feel like these guys differed philosophically from, you guys and from Carp?
Well, I guess just the way that those folks, as probably every high school in the U.S. You got the kids that are, high school is their moment in time, and after school they're gonna go get a job at the factory or the lumber mill or whatever, and that's they live to be an asshole, and at the end of the day they're patting themselves on the back because they gave some kid some shit, and gave somebody a hard time. That's that's what they live for, and at the end of high school it's done for them, and for us and for Carp and for the other folks around, they were making music, and that we I guess just saw a little bit further beyond that. High school was just a temporary moment that we had to get through until we could like break off and soar, get further places. The mentality definitely between the redneck pricks and the punk rock bands was one of making high school your moment, or taking and getting away from high school and soaring around the world.
What do you think about the idea that, like, because you can't help but think that, like, the aggression in the music, it seems like, there is aggression in the music, it seems also very pacifist. It like non like machismo, but like still virulent. And what do you think about the idea that it was kind of like also being like an aggressive, powerful male, but at the same time departing from that aggressive male oppressive attitude that they were getting, not being like socially aggressive.
Right. I guess
it's not really a question so much as it is just like a topic. I mean,
yeah, I guess I think how to word that. I guess it goes back to what I was saying with the high school pricks, where their life ended at high school. After high school, they were aggressive to pat each other on the back at that moment in time, and what the kicks they got out of it were, giving somebody shit or beating somebody up or whatever, and just that wasn't part of what Carp was doing or what Fits Depression was doing, or the way that we put our angst and aggressiveness together in a ball was through our music, and was through making our statements with a guitar, and making a statement with our growl and our hollering all came through in music rather than muscles and stupidity.
What do you think about the kind of like the obvious humor element, like that those guys, like as individuals and also in the band, had or played part of that?
Yeah, they definitely. Carp definitely had a humor element behind all of the power and the distortion and the drums and all that. It all, if you don't know the people and you don't know where they came from or whatever, it just seems like it's just hard music. But it definitely came with an edge of laughing at the situation that we were in, the situation that there's nothing much you could do about it. You had to go to school. You had to go deal with these people, you know, and if not school, you know, for me, I'd graduated years before, so it wasn't, you know, that wasn't my thing, but, you know, I definitely had to deal with these people around town. Olympia is a small town, and you know, you can't really, you know, go out and go to the shows and go to the, you know, go to the venues or whatnot without dealing with these people, because it's, you know, like I said, it's a small town. We got one street that rolls through here, and we're all part of the same street. We're all part of that same, you know, scene in a way. You know, we'd clash downtown. We'd clash. You know, they'd clash at school with them. You know, yeah, I guess just, you know, keeping the laughter there, keeping the not being so serious about it was probably essential to survival. It was, you know, you made the music, you did all that, but you also had to, you know, when you weren't making music, you had to deal with these people constantly, and so you know, you had to keep a humor element for sure.
Do you think there was something at work, like also making a conscious separation of saying that we're not? I mean, even though, you know, because you're from the same place, technically you are these people. You're from the same place. Do you think that there was an element of saying, like, making a very definite, you know, statement that we are different. We're not. This is not what we're doing.
In regards to, like, the rednecks?
Yeah, no, I mean, in regards to Carp, like, as they, you know, got older and started playing in bands and started, like, defining themselves like kids do in high school, of, like, kind of picking to, while being in, like, a part of, like, a small town atmosphere where you might be in a metal band or something, taking it into a new direction, saying, like, you know, we're not these redneck pricks. We're somebody else.
Right. I'm not sure I understand where you come from. Do you mean with regards to just, like, the locals, or with regards from band to band?
Well, I think more in regards to just, like, the specialness of their particular brand of music, because, you know, it's like it has this. Somebody that I was interviewing last night described it as this, like, lift, that it's like this dark music with this incredibly, like, jovial like atmosphere to it, where I don't know, because maybe they just, you know, maybe just it's a case of just being organically different.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
Again, do you mean the music or the?
Yeah, because I don't
frame
know.
of mind outside of music.
I guess both.
Yeah, I guess if I understand what you're saying, you certainly had to separate yourself in music and as well in life, with I guess with, you know, the choices that you made, what kind of music you were going to make, the kind of person you were going to be, the kind of, you know, at the end of the day, we all got to look in the mirror and you know if you're a good person or a bad person. Trying to understand it as well as say it at the same time. I guess like with the music, you know, it the stuff that Carp was doing at the time, you know, was certainly aggressive and you know, had an edge to it and all this, but at the same time they, you know, they kept level heads. They kept, you know, not being that, you know, the typical aggressive metal, you know, jock rock sort of, you know, mentality. Like, you know, there's tons of those bands out there, or where it's, you know, you're trying to be alternative, but you're still thinking like an asshole, you know, and certainly, like, in Olympia, we were lucky enough to, you know, like Carp and Fitz were both on K, we got to deal with that sort of crowd that was very nice and very, you know, they were, you know, the K crowd, I don't know how to describe them, just, you know, very, very well mannered, very, very nice kids, and we were all sort of, you know, wrapped up in the same scene, and so you got your hardcore, aggressive, punk metal thing mixed with the nice atmosphere, the nice, you know, way of thinking, and respect for each other, and respect for the people around you, and respect for, you know, the choices that other people make, and the things that they want to do. We didn't pass judgment. We didn't, you know, say, you know, oh, you're a queer, and oh, you're this or you're that, or, you know, and whatever. You know, there's so much of that that goes around with, you know, the jocks and the metalheads and all these like aggressive types that normally you could lump, you know, Carp into without knowing anything about Carp or the people that they are, or the places that they came from. You could listen to it and maybe assume that they're just, you know, rough tumbled, you know, metalheads, you know, but they were certainly not that at all. They were, you know, being mixed in the crowd with the nice kids and the heavy, you know, metal and punk. It all sort of meshed together in this cool way that was, you know, mean kids being nice kids being mean. You know, it's just kind of, I don't know.
Would you
I don't know
say
if that makes sense. Or,
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's super well said. I mean, it kind of, I guess it begs the question, and also probably begs the answer of, you know, that, would you say that was the element that ushered it into K? I mean, the reason why K would want to embrace, you know, both of your bands.
Right. Yeah, certainly there was, you know, there was that, you know, worlds apart between, you know, most of the bands that were on K, and, you know, Carp and Fitz were the only two that really were, you know, hard. But Kill Rock Stars had, you know, a few more bands that were kind of a little more, you know, on the punk edge or whatever. But putting the two together certainly made a, you know, a nice atmosphere in Olympia where everybody could, you know, get along and treat each other with respect and treat each other with, you know, open arms, and, you know, without being judgmental, without being, you know, full of hatred, like, you know, so much of the music is. You know.
So why not Kill Rock Stars then?
What do you mean? Why
As
not?
a label? I know there was a brief.
Yeah, we had both put stuff out on Kill Rock Stars, but I think with Carp they'd just done singles as well with them. I don't think they did a full length. We did 2 full lengths. Fits the Depression did 2 full lengths on K. I think Carp also did 2, maybe 3 on K. I'm not really sure why them over Kill Rock Stars. For us, it was because I lived in the building. I lived right next door to K, so it was kind of like, you know, you wake up and you open the door and there it is. You know, that you're living with your record label basically. And Vern from Unwound, he was living in the same space at the time, and between us, Unwound, between Fits of Depression, Unwound, Carp, we were all living or staying or hanging out in the same area as K, and just naturally, I guess, kind of were around it and got to talk to them more than the Kill Rock Stars folks. Got to be around that label more, and so it just kind of naturally, we, you know, want to put out the record? Okay, sure, yeah, whatever.
Makes sense. So what would you say, like, if you had to describe them, like, each individually, just as, like, an individual character, or just person?
Jared was definitely the business. Chris was the humor, and Scott was somewhere in between. He was a little bit of both. He was stern but goofy all at the same time. He was, you know, I'd have fun and be joking, but cool and calculated at the same time. Jared was definitely a little more reserved, a little more business end. Chris was just having a heyday, along for the ride.
What was your impression of how things changed over time of the band, like as things went on, or if you feel like they changed?
I didn't really see much of change until, you know, kind of the end when it all just, you know, sort of fell apart. They, you know, there was a lot of, you know, touring, a lot of, you know, our lives just got sort of wrapped up in the music, like engulfed in it really, and it for both bands, it just kind of, it was all we lived for a long time there. There were times where we'd stay out 10 months of the year, you know, just out on the road constantly. We both got sent over to Japan, just a little ways apart from each other. Both got sent over to England. Actually, I don't think Carp did. But we did so much touring and stuff that it seemed like it really kind of just, that all of a sudden became your life, music and the bands that you were in, and I guess right to the end, Carp, you know, just, you know, played music, and that was all they did. You know, the both of us, we'd wake up, think about music, before we go to sleep, thinking about music, you know, and I guess with them, I don't really remember it changing too much, except from the very beginning when it was just, you know, fun and we were playing local, till, you know, just a little ways into that, you know, we're getting a lot of attention and doing a lot of touring and playing and just, I guess, you know, being professionals took over, and we just toured like hell, toured like mad, put out a lot of records, did a lot of recording and sleeping on people's floors and, you know, eating shit food and truck stops and yeah, I guess the only change I can really see is just, you know, from, you know, playing parties and being locals to conquering the world.
What kind of effect do you think that scenario, like the touring scenario that you're describing, has on like young guys that are like kids and they're just like growing up? It's clearly different than how most kids grow up.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, like, you know, like a lot of bands nowadays, I'm noticing, you know, they get a lot of big attention right away, and you know, they get thrown into these touring situations where, you know, all of a sudden it's here and you go wham, and there's no middle ground, you know. But with again, you know, with Carp and Fitz, we both were just, you know, from the grassroots, we sort of slowly built up and didn't really get, you know, big media attention or anything, and so there wasn't that big of a transition because it was still all homegrown and DIY. You know, the touring was all, you know, booked ourselves. We, you know, later on, you know, we obviously had to take on booking agents and stuff because the touring was so aggressive and there was so much of it that you didn't have time to do it yourself. You didn't have time to, you know, book those tours anymore, you know, because you're so busy out on the road or trying to write the music or whatever. So, yeah, I guess there wasn't a whole lot of change.
What do you think about the breakup? Like kind of the last year of what was going on for them personally, and like.
Yeah, I guess just with, you know, with all of us, we had our personal issues and personal demons that, you know, naturally over time, they, you know, they take over, and you know, you got things you don't know how to deal with, things, you know, personal issues that you have to deal with because it's your life. But again, we were out touring so much we didn't have time to deal with our lives, and so when things were happening and things were changing, all that stuff got put on the back burner, and rock was sort of just the focus, and so you didn't really get a chance to deal with your own personals, the things that you needed to deal with, and so life can kind of fall apart, and you don't even notice it because you're not really there. Your head's wrapped around your guitar, wrapped up in your drum skins, or think about the changing, the things that you're not dealing with things you should be dealing with, and all of a sudden you look back and go, oh shit, it's all fucked up.
What do you think, if any, are key elements of? Do you think that you can grow older and grow up in a band and remain kind of in control and healthy, basically, in that atmosphere?
I think it can be done. I think that when you spend as much time as we did doing the things that we did, time goes by. You don't pay attention to it, and it can get away from you. A lot of bands don't last as long as Carp did or we did or whatever, and their whole life in the band happens a lot quicker. Carp was around for so many years. Most bands, their whole lifespan is half of that. Like shit. Even Nirvana wasn't around as long as Carp was. It's like the freaking Beatles weren't even touring as long as Carp was. Fitz was, or Unwound was, or whatever. There was a lot of years put into it, and so I guess it ran its course, and probably a little longer than it should have, in a way.
What do you think happened to their friendship from your point of view at the end? Like just as three